As an autistic person, how do you reconnect to your intuition when you've been invalidated or gaslit so much that you don't know what to trust anymore? There's many reasons that autistic people might lose our connection to our intuition. First of all, many of us have been told that we are overreactive, that we're oversensitive, and if you grow up hearing this, then you start thinking, hey, these cues that my body's telling me that I'm overwhelmed, that this is too much, maybe that's not right. Maybe I should believe my parents who are saying these things. Maybe I should believe my partner who's telling me that I'm asking for too much. And so rather than trusting that intuition that something's wrong, we start to believe other people when they tell us that no, you're just overthinking it. Also, contrary to what many people believe, I have found that autistic people tend to be highly empathetic. Now, this is a generalization, it doesn't apply to everyone in our community, but we often feel very strongly. Sometimes we're not able to communicate those feelings, and that's why some might perceive us to be unempathetic or lacking empathy, but it's oftentimes because we're feeling so much that we don't know how to communicate that. This type of experience can also be affected by masking. So when we mask, it usually leads us to change our behaviors or our speech patterns to be more acceptable in terms of what we feel like other people are needing from us. And when we do that, we start to become more aware of other people's needs before our own, and that becomes our default setting. What do other people need from me, and who am I supposed to be in this setting? So rather than connecting with how we want to show up in that moment, we're masking to be who we feel like we're supposed to be. And that's another way that we downplay our intuition. Additionally, and unfortunately, highly empathetic people tend to attract manipulative personalities. This can be people with narcissistic tendencies, and this is not a video that's going to villainize narcissists. They're people too, and there's a reason that those narcissistic tendencies have been developed that deserve to be seen and cared for. But as an autistic person, a lot of times we tend to find these personality types in our lives. I'm still studying this and very interested in this connection, but it won't take long for you to find somebody in our autistic community who can relate to being involved with a narcissist. Narcissists are expert manipulators, invalidators, gaslighters. They're so good at putting their experience before your own. Does it really matter what you need right now? Because I need to be taken care of this way. There are all different ways that narcissistic personalities can show up. There can also be covert narcissists where it's not as obvious, but they're still manipulating the relationship to get their needs met first, or maybe giving you things so that you will give in return. And all of these forms of manipulation lead us to start questioning our own experiences. And the last reason I'll share here for why I feel autistic people tend to get disconnected from our intuition is that our nervous systems tend to be on high alert. We're constantly taking in information. Many people in the community have said that they feel like an antenna when they walk in the room. They immediately start processing lights and sounds and textures, and just all of this information starts streaming in, and it can overwhelm us like kind of a computer trying to take in too much information. And when this happens, it's really easy to get disconnected from how we feel because we go up into our heads and we start processing things. A lot of us also say that we kind of relate to this idea of being a floating head above our bodies because we're so trapped in our thinking that we feel very disconnected from what our body is actually feeling. This means that sometimes important information gets drowned out. So how do we reconnect to this important information that comes in via our intuition? First, we need to talk about trauma. Trauma is a stressful or dangerous event that can have a lasting effect on someone's health. Now, trauma is interesting because the same event can happen to two different people, and it might only be processed as trauma by one. So one example I've heard to illustrate this is an earthquake. Let's say that you live in California, you're used to earthquakes. Whenever they happen, you know that you just have to do XYZ, take a few deep breaths, and it'll usually pass. But if you're visiting California for the first time, have never experienced an earthquake, and one happens while you're there, you might think that everything's coming to an end. It might be so stressful and terrifying for you that that processes as trauma. Trauma can be a single event or a series of events. So whenever it turns into a series of events, that becomes more chronic trauma, which can be related to complex post-traumatic stress disorder or CPTSD. And many in our autistic community relate to this diagnosis. Although it's not an official DSM-5 diagnosis, it can be used to help us understand the effects of chronic trauma in our lives. One example of chronic trauma, like I mentioned, could be being in a relationship with a manipulative personality. So you're waking up, you're going to sleep feeling unsafe, unprotected, unseen. Being disconnected from our intuition can actually make us more susceptible to trauma because our spidey sense, that inner voice that's there to keep us safe, to tell us, hey, the situation seems a little sketchy, let's get out. We've practiced downplaying that and saying, no, they said I'm just overthinking it. They said I'm just oversensitive. And maybe we find ourselves in a situation that becomes pretty dangerous. So, how do we reconnect with that intuition? There's many people in our community that have said, after my diagnosis, I'm questioning, do I even know who I am? Not only that, but do I know what I want in my life? And even beyond that, many of us feel like we don't even know how to identify what we need. And shouldn't that be easy? What do I need today? What do I need to be okay? Sometimes we can't even identify this. So, first of all, in reconnecting to our intuition, we have to do more of what feels good and less of what doesn't. That may seem oversimplified, but when you're rebuilding a foundation for your life and you have no idea which way is up, it's a great place to start. So do more of what feels good, do less of what doesn't. You don't have to justify which category something falls into to anyone but yourself. And stay curious about your experiences here. Let's say you kind of go on a whim and think, hey, I'd love to learn to play the guitar. I've never done that before. I've always wanted to know what that would be like. Let's say you start on that journey, you start taking lessons, and it's just not for you. It doesn't feel right. It's making you more frustrated, and it's just not adding any value or joy to your life. Try not to take yourself too seriously. Laugh things off when you can. It's important to try new things, which can be scary for autistic people. It doesn't have to be anything drastic. Just stay curious about the things in your life that make you feel good and prioritize those things while also saying no to more of those things that empty your bucket, that really drain you. Now, I'm a mom and I understand that's not always possible. Sometimes you just have to do things that drain you, but generally speaking, do more of what feels good, do less of what doesn't. Another important part of this experience is paying attention to what you naturally turn towards and away from. Now, this is important because as we do reconnect to that intuition, our body really does give us signals that let us know whether or not something feels safe or not. So turning towards something would look like your shoulders are back and down, you naturally want to go check something out, you have a fascination about something, a curiosity, an interest. Pulling away from something would be your body literally will constrict. You'll try to protect yourself. This is a naturally protective stance. You'll draw away from something. This can be a person, an experience, a relationship, an event. Your body will give you those cues. Just start paying attention to what you notice. And if you're turning away from something, this is your body saying, hey, I might not have the words to describe what's going on yet, but there's something here that either needs to be completely avoided or addressed before proceeding. Another important practice is checking in with your body. I think a lot of times we're looking for a magic cure. If only I just kept reading and researching and maybe there's something I haven't learned yet that's going to open me up to this magical healing, right? But I like to ask people, when was the last time that you got still and quiet and you paid attention to how your body was feeling? That might sound scary for some of you hearing it. I understand. It probably sounds scary because it's been a while since you've done that. So this can be as easy as pausing the video. I like to put my feet flat on the floor and just straighten my spine and just take some deep breaths in. I close my eyes and I think, okay, what is going on right now? And then I identify, oh yeah, I'm feeling kind of stressed. I'm noticing that I'm clenching my jaw. My hands are kind of tight. And I'll breathe into those areas. I'll inhale and I'll imagine the air filling up those tense spaces. And I'll exhale and I'll imagine the stress just leaving my body and going down into the ground away from me. One thing that also helps in this process is just using a mantra. It's not super woo-woo or spiritual. It's just a repeated phrase that can help us feel more grounded. And that mantra is, it makes sense that I feel this way. This saying has changed so much for me because I've had to basically reparent myself in this situation where I'm retraining my brain like, it's okay. It makes sense that you're overwhelmed and anxious right now because this was a stressful experience. There were 10 people talking at once who all needed your attention at the same time, and there's no way to manage all of those streams of information at once. So tell yourself, it makes sense that I feel this way, and breathe. Another way that we can check in with our body is by prioritizing rest. And I'm excited to share a new product with you today from Manta Sleep that I absolutely love. It is their white noise machine. If you've been around the channel before, you've heard me talk about the Manta Sleep masks. Really well made, high quality products. This is no different. I love the design. It is simple and it does not require a phone or any type of device to work. which makes me feel old that I'm so excited about that. No screens, no Bluetooth, no Wi-Fi. It comes with this simple, easy to use remote that you can put easily in your nightstand, and it's a one push start. So you literally just push this button and the speaker turns on. There are all different types of sounds, gapless. So it doesn't restart like when you get out, an app or something and then you hear the end of the loop. Oh, it makes me so mad. There is brown noise, coral noise, pink noise, pearl noise, white noise, fans, rain sounds that I actually enjoy. I promise you, I have not found any rain sounds that I can tolerate because they all sound fake and they make me mad. But these rain sounds are actually nice. You can keep it on your nightstand, or there's a place on the back where you can mount it to a wall. It's also upgradable to a 2-speaker system, and the speakers plug into the wall. Again, I feel old, but hallelujah for things that don't need to be charged. There's an 8-foot cord, so it can go anywhere in your bedroom, basically. I love that. The buttons are sensory friendly. They feel great to touch. There's not like an annoying click sound when you touch the buttons, and there are absolutely no LED lights involved. Those pesky LED lights keep me up at night. So I will put a link to this lovely white noise machine in the description along with a discount code that you can use. So let's go back to reconnecting with our intuition. Along with these other practices that I've mentioned, it's important to just start small. I know a lot of us, as soon as we realize we're autistic, we want to change everything. Oh my gosh, I have all of this information. It's a new life. It's a new me. And it feels overwhelming. There's no need to rush into all of the change. One phrase that really helps me is that a slow transformation is a lasting transformation. We've all had the friend who's like, hey, guess what? I'm going to change my life. I'm going to start waking up at 5 a.m. and working out and journaling. And if you're like me, you're like, okay, that sounds great. That's how, I hope it goes well for you. But we know that a lot of times those drastic all-in-one changes and hopes for transformation, oftentimes it ends in this deflating sense of, man, I really let myself down. It's important to start slow, create manageable change, and take it one step at a time. Also, don't just add something to your life because it feels like what you're supposed to do. Autistic people have extremely different needs, extremely different patterns of how life works for them when it comes to a work schedule, when it comes to a sleep schedule, whatever it might be. Do your best not to compare yourself to others. If you add something new into your life, reflect on how it affected it. Is this a positive change? Is this a negative change? Or did I just do it because I felt like I was supposed to? In this process, it's also really important to connect to people and experiences that make you feel alive, that make you feel connected to your sense of purpose and your sense of worth. For many of us, there's so much healing that needs to be done, and oftentimes this can feel even better and safer within the context of a supportive community. If you're looking for something like that, I really hope that you'll subscribe to the channel because there's a beautiful community here. Just look in the comments below. Please be respectful and kind. In the comments, a lot of people tend to share really vulnerable things, and it's amazing because it leads to healing and transformation. So please be supportive in the comments. I think you'll find that it's a great place to plug in. And if you're wanting more than that, I have an online community. There's hundreds of us there. We share questions, we share frustrations, we share resources. I will put a link in the description so that you can check out that community for free if that's something that you're interested in. And also remember, I will put the link to this lovely Manta white noise machine in the description along with my discount code. Be kind to yourself on the path to healing. I'm so glad you're here. Hope to see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye.